Now, you don't normally see 1, 2, 3 setup blocks for electronics workbenches, but I found them to be super helpful. 1, 2, 3 blocks, they're called that because they're 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, are steel blocks with a bunch of holes in them, and they're used by machinists. And they are super duper handy for a whole bunch of things. For example, let's say you wanted to glue up an enclosure and you're doing your super glue all around and you want to kind of hold it down. Well, they're heavy enough that, bloop, simple, right? Just like that. Because they're steel, if you have little clamps like these Omniflex, I think they're called Omniflexes. They have little magnets at the bottom, and bloop, there you go. You could put your thing there and move it all around, and you've got a nice steady base because it's so heavy. And these are really handy for stuff like, here's a little tiny button, little micro button. Just hold it right there, and I can do my soldering, and I've got plenty of space to work with. So that's pretty cool. Now, where I will use them probably the most is for fixtures when I'm soldering things. So what I have is I have some setup blocks, and I 3D printed parts to adapt these so that I have slots to work with. And so here's how it works. I have a 3D printed part for whatever I'm going to need to be doing assembly. In this case, it's some standard potentiometers. And what I do is I mount the potentiometers temporarily in this fixture, and then it holds like that, and it goes like that. And there you go. So now it's held, and it's real low profile, and it doesn't get in your way. So when you're soldering, you could do it a lot easier. So highly recommend to do. I've done this for a whole bunch of different components that are hard to solder. This is potentiometers. Here's another one I recently did, but it's the same concept here. So these are little squares. Why did I do this? Well, I do this because I needed to solder some of these little relays. So I was going to hand solder them. So instead of trying to put it into a vise and manage all of that, it plops right in there. I can get at it. And you'll see I do 4 because I'll do at least 4 at a time for consistency. Let's see what else. So we've got that. And also is a general helper on your, you can see how that fits. As a general helper on your workbench, again, because of the weight, I made this my own little solder holder. I used to have this hooked to my Panavise, but there were instances where I needed to move the solder around. So I just 3D printed some parts. I have an adapter and a screw, and it screws into this post. The post is removable. I just did this because, well, it's easier to print the parts if you're doing it in multi-parts. I don't want to have a ton of supports when I'm just building a tool, and there solder goes right on there. It doesn't even, I was originally going to do this with a bearing and whatnot, but I didn't need to do that. So consider adding 1, 2, 3 blocks to your electronics workbench. I started out with 2, then I had 4, and I think I have about 10 right now. So that tells you how useful I think that they are, how beneficial they can be. So there's my little helpful hint for the morning.